Hey, you Facebook peeps. Okay, so here we go. I am going to read my last Friday's blog because I didn't get a chance to read that before I took off for the Lone Star Lesbic Festival. So anyways, this is one of my favorite blogs that I've ever written, so that's why I'm going to do it for you today. Tomorrow, my book, actually, editorial note, that was last Friday, so it's already out. Captivated comes out, and it has special meaning to me because the character Juliet is based loosely on my mother, who had a mild case of obsessive compulsive disorder. To some degree, I recognize a few of those traits in myself. Stop laughing, everyone. And granted, a lot of people have their own obsessions, but I do believe my mother may have pushed the envelope. I remember watching the movie As Good as It Gets and seeing certain aspects of my mother in the lead character. I thought, how sad that people judge certain quirks so harshly. I wanted to create a protagonist that was lovable because of her uniqueness, not despite it. I didn't wish for her love interest to simply tolerate the obsessiveness, but rather embrace it as a fundamental part of who Juliet was and to love her for that distinctiveness. I remember my mother not wanting us to come inside because she just vacuumed the apartment and that would ruin her neat lines in the carpet. As a kid, that was fine and dandy with me because I got to spend more time outside playing. When we moved into a house, everything had a place, and that made it easy not to lose anything. I'm not nearly as organized as my mother, and I'm constantly losing shit, even more so as I age. Again, stop laughing. In high school, I learned that my mother would use a washcloth to clean herself after going to the bathroom. That's when I first realized that she had a mild case of obsessive compulsive disorder, or maybe not so mild. I wondered if she struggled or it somehow negatively impacted her life. Before I discovered that about her, I never considered her behavior out of the ordinary. Despite my father's faults, he loved my mother and truly appreciated her compulsiveness. They say opposites attract, and I don't believe there was a couple more contrary than my father and mother. Think Felix Unger as my mother and Oscar Madison as my father. In case you don't know that reference, they are the two main characters in The Odd Couple. It's a famous movie and a television sitcom from years back. My father would think it was perfectly acceptable to blow his snotty nose on his undershirt and leave it on for the entire day. True story. After a day of fishing, he would be covered in fish guts, blood, and whatever he'd had for lunch. I should have bought stock and resolve. Most children can't fathom their parents having sex, but I really wondered how they managed to cross the great divide given their massive differences in grooming standards. My mother used to order my father to strip just inside the mudroom, and she would toss his clothes directly into the washing machine, adding copious amounts of bleach. Maybe that was their foreplay. 6 months before my mother died, I knew she was dying. I knew this because all of her persnickety habits that made her my lovable mother disappeared. I helped her clip and file her nails. My father took over the household chores, and she let him, never complaining once about the piss-poor job he was doing. I gained a new respect for how much my father loved my mother, as he did everything for her with love and without complaint. He did an admirable job. My mother's frail body just simply did not have the energy to enable her to do the things she used to do to ensure the house was spotless, literally. It broke my heart to see this. My mother was no longer my mother. So yes, I loved her for exactly who she was. Besides being the cleanest person I ever knew, she was so much more than that. She was generous and funny, kind and loving, and above all, self-sacrificing. I hope you will love Juliet as much as I loved my mother. So feel free to check out Captivated and, of course, any other book that I've written. Embrace individuality and love people for their quirks. not despite them. Okay, that's my blog from last week. Hope you liked it, and see you around on Facebook.